Good for you. Glad you got some rest. Okay, here we are. Today's a big day. Today we cover some problems that appear to be extremely difficult for people once they get to the test. We are going to make them as simple as possible. Okay? What? Forget about that. We are going to look at double angle formulas. And so what that means is, right now, I have a single angle. The angle is x, and we're going to move that to sine of 2x. Okay? We're going to double the angle and see what properties it then has. And here's what we know. Sine of 2x is equal to 2 times sine of x times cosine of x. So you can move from a double angle back to single angle properties. That can be very helpful. You don't really use this much in real life, and really, honestly, you don't use it all that much in trigonometry. You do use it in calculus. No questions. Okay. Cosine of 2x. This is a wonderful one. You actually get the choice of 3 different options here. Okay, so it's like yeah, it's like you're going through the drive-up at McDonald's. You get to choose a type of a cone. You get chocolate, vanilla, or twist. Right? They don't have twists anymore. There's one McDonald's in Minnesota. I don't believe you. Never seen chocolate at McDonald's. Okay, I'm going to investigate. So you can either choose cosine squared minus sine squared, or you can choose 2 times cosine squared minus 1, or you can choose 1 minus 2 sine squared, which actually is my favorite option. That's my favorite option right there. But if you're like my daughter, Tenley, and you say, well, would you like chocolate, vanilla, or twist? She says, all 3. No. And that's what happens. You get to the test, and you put down all 3 formulas. You actually do 3 times the amount of work that you need to do. You just need to do the very first one. That's it. Tangent of 2x. Two times tangent of x. Is that nice? It's like you just move the 2 out front. Divided by 1 minus tangent squared of x. Now, if anybody's watching this video, especially a teacher, and you're really, I guess, I don't know, you really like the double angle formula for tangent, I apologize for what I'm going to say right now, but I don't see any purpose in this, folks. I don't ever use it. I don't ever use it. Never. I do something different. I say, let's take sine of 2x divided by cosine of 2x. And yes, I understand, folks who might be watching video, if you're really tied to that formula, that you do see some importance for it. But I'm just going to argue, I don't think I've ever encountered a time in calculus or anytime moving forward I really needed to use that. But sine 2x over cosine 2x is much easier. Okay, so let's try it out. Well, first let's find these formulas. Where are they anyway? Boy, if we look at that formula sheet that you're going to use, we have double angle formulas for sine and cosine and tangent. You can see right here, and that's where we live right now. And then today we're also going to cover half angle formulas. So you can see a lot of the stuff that we've covered so far. I'm starting to kind of X off different things on this page. So I can give the formulas to you. You still have to know where they are. I do have some students who actually color code the formula boxes. So they would do like this one in blue, this one in red, And that helps kind of jog their memory for like, oh yeah, blue for this one, red for this one. So if you want to color code it, that'll be fine. Okay. All right. All right. Let's try the problem. This is the number 1 IDK problem for the test. Many students get to this part of the test. IDK, never learned how to do it, Mr. Gens, don't know what I'm doing. I'm sorry to hear that. I wish there was something we could do to change that. But we would have had to do something before the test, unlike, say, the study guide day or something to figure that out. So it says, given cosecant of x is 2, and that x is in the second quadrant, find sine of 2x, cosine of 2x, and tangent of 2x. Well, first what I'm going to do is I'm going to write down sine of 2x. And I know, because of the formula that I have, that that's equal to 2 times the sine of x times the cosine of x. And I know cosine of 2x. I have a formula for that. I can use 1 minus 2 sine squared of x. And that's the one that I chose to use because, you know, you have three options there, but that's the one I like. It's free country. And then we have tangent of 2x, which is going to be sine of 2x divided by cosine of 2x. So it would be helpful if I knew sine of x and cosine of x, wouldn't it? Then I could evaluate what sine of 2x is. Do I know what sine of x is? What is sine of x? Yeah, if cosecant is 2, then sine's 1/2. Now I just need cosine of x. So cosecant of x was equal to 2. Sine of x is then equal to 1/2. How will I find cosine of x? Very good. Sine squared of x plus cosine squared of x is equal to 1. Square sine, what do I get? 1/4 plus cosine squared is equal to 4/4. You guys are so smart. Subtract the 1/4. I have cosine squared is equal to 3/4. Now what? Square root. And I have cosine of x is equal to plus or minus the square root of 3 over 2. Is it going to be positive or negative? Why is it going to be negative? It's in the second quadrant, and cosine is negative in the second quadrant. Very good. So I have the negative root of 3 divided by 2. I multiply. 2 times 1/2 times negative root of 3 over 2. Are there any questions about what I've done so far? Because that's 90% of the problem, folks. If you could do that, you can do the rest. That's 90% of the problem. Yes. If I take sine of x and I multiply it by 2, I would get 1, right? It's not 1. Were you here for Friday when we did our sum and difference formula? Do you remember this? Remember that? Well, here, if I have 2x, that means a is x and b is x, right? So you get sine of x times cosine of x plus sine of x times cosine of x. Are these two the same? So you get 2 times the sine of x cosine of x. So that's why we get that formula. See where it comes from? Yeah. And the others follow suit the same way. 1 minus 2 times, what is sine of x? Half, and we square it. So 1/2 squared. What's 1/2 squared? 1/4. So you have 1 minus 2 times a fourth. What's 2 times a fourth? A half. What's 1 minus a half? A half. Here's the mistake that people make in doing the last one. Okay? They take sine of x and divide it by cosine of x. You should take sine of 2x divided by cosine of 2x. See the difference? And especially when the numbers kind of interchange, you can see how it gets confusing. So take negative root of 3 over 2 divided by 1/2. Multiply by 2 over 1. And what happens is you can see those cancel, I get negative root of 3. All of a sudden, the IDK problem turned out to be not that bad, right? Raise your hand if you are entirely 100% all caught up with your pre-calculus homework. 1, 2, 3, 4. Good job for you guys, okay? Raise your hand if you're almost entirely caught up. Like, well, you just got a little bit more. Got another one, okay? 2. So, when you are behind in your work right now, do not start out with 7.1 and 7.2. Don't start with 7.3 today, okay? Just go back some other time to 7.1, 7.2. You want to start this stuff now, okay? All right, let me show you what you actually did. Sine of x was 1/2, cosine of x was negative root of 3 over 2. That actually means you have a 30-degree reference angle right here, which means you have 150 degrees. That's what x was. Well, what happens if you double 150? What do you get? 300. Well, that places you right there. Think about it. Which quadrant are you in now? Is sine positive or negative in the fourth quadrant? It is negative. Is cosine positive or negative? Is tangent positive or negative? See? Now, we didn't tell you that it was 150 degrees. That's something you could try to work through and think out on your own, but there it is. Okay. All right. Yes. That's how I check my answer, which is exactly what I showed you, yes. I inversed it to get that 150 and then went from there. But I would say that, Gigi, it worked out really nice in the scenario to be 150. It won't always work out like that. So, okay. All right. Half angle formulas. Sine. So instead of doubling the angle, we'll take it and we'll divide it by 2. Well, that would be plus or minus the square root of 1 minus cosine of an angle, all divided by 2. Doesn't look very pretty, does it? The nice thing is that the cosine formula is very similar. Cosine of an angle divided by 2 is going to be plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of an angle, all over 2. And then finally, we get to tangent. Tangent of an angle divided by 2 is going to be equal to, you guys have your formula sheet out? Is it 1 minus cosine over sine? Okay, so 1 minus cosine of an angle divided by sine of the angle. Or you get a choice here as well. Or you could choose sine of an angle divided by 1 plus cosine of an angle. Can I show you something cool? Cross multiply, sine times sine. These are conjugates, right? So the middle goes away. Add the cosine squared over. Okay. All trigonometry is connected, folks. So we want to find the exact value of cosine of 15. Now, on Friday, we showed you how to do this. You could do the cosine of 45 minus 30. We used that sum and difference formula, didn't we? And that was really cool. It was a good time. Everybody enjoyed it. We were happy. Good for you, okay? But now, what we're going to do is instead of doing addition and subtraction, we're going to do a half angle formula. So what angle do you divide in half in order to get 15? So I could rewrite this as cosine of 30 over 2. Well, hopefully I have a formula that models that type of problem. And I do. It says if you take the cosine of an angle divided by 2, that's equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 plus cosine of the angle all over 2. What is the angle? It's 30. It's not 15, right? It's 30. That's the angle I'm going to use. So it's plus or minus the square root of 1 plus the cosine of 30, all divided by 2. Now here's where the plus or minus comes into being. It's not that big of a deal. All we have to do is look at the angle. Cosine of 15. Which quadrant will that place us in? So is it going to be positive or negative? So we know it's positive. Now we just need to know the cosine of 30. Fortunately, you guys all knew how to do that on your final exam. So you know the cosine of 30 is root of 3 over 2. If you aren't able to do that quickly, then you need to start making your little, unit circles all the time and 30 degrees and root of 3 over 2 and 1/2. And then you can see that the x value is root of 3 over 2. So somehow you got to come up with it. Okay. So we rewrote it. See why these two are the same? So the formula says cosine of an angle divided by 2. So what is the angle you're dividing by 2? We're taking 30 and dividing by 2. So 30 takes the place of A. Better? Good question. Thank you for asking. Okay, this is not okay. Square root of 1 plus the root of 3 over 2 all over 2 because it's a complex fraction. It's also a complex radical. You got a radical inside a radical, which you've never done before, have you? It's a big day. It's like as big as Pi Day, right? It's just like, holy cow, you're going to write a radical and a radical. That's radical, okay? So I know. Should we go back in time and celebrate? We missed E Day as well. We'll have to make up one. There's some special irrational number out there that doesn't get celebrated very much. We'll have to figure out what it is. No, I disagree with this, but I'd like to hear more about it. Okay, you said exact. I freaked out. I'm sorry. Okay, YouTube Nation. One of my students was claiming that there's a certain day in July where if you divide it in half, you get exactly pi. And I screamed out blasphemy. I thought about it, and then the student said, "Well, not exactly." I said, "Okay, all right. I want July 22nd. Okay, great." Yeah, so if you take 22 and divide it by 7, that's an excellent approximation for pi. We can talk about that later on. Archimedes and some of the work he did. Okay, here we go. Let's simplify this complex fraction. We got the square root of 2 over 2 plus the root of 3 over 2 all over 2. So I get square root of 2 plus the root of 3 over 2 over 2 over 1, right? So now what? Multiply by the reciprocal times 1 over 2. So now I have square root of 2 plus the root of 3 over 4. Right? I know. You have to do something there. All right, can I take square root of the top? Can I take square root of the bottom? So I get the square root of 2 plus the root of 3 all over 2. Isn't that beautiful? Look at that number. That's like, there's something special about that number. And the cool thing is, if you type it in your calculator, look what I did. I did the square root of 2 plus the root of 3 all divided by 2. I got 0.9659. You take cosine 15, you get 0.9659. Now, if you do this on the test, folks, if you do cosine 15, you do 0.9659, then I will start screaming, I'll start stabbing your paper with a red pen. Okay? Because, guys, I could get Tenley, okay, my first grader, I could get her to do that. I could show her the cosine button on the calculator. I could teach her how to type in 1, 5, okay, and press enter. But I can't get her to do any of the rest of it, okay? And so, but Morgan, she could do the trig here, right? What's that? No. Yeah. And so we get to leave a radical inside a radical. And, okay, Eve doesn't like it, and you are entitled to your opinion, just like I don't like the Beatles. But, yep, I don't care for them, okay? Sounds like drug music to me. We all live in a yellow submarine, a yellow submarine. Yeah, it's like country music. I can't stand it, okay? All right? But, so you're entitled to your opinion, Eve, but you're wrong. Okay, here we go. So, no, you can't square. You got nothing to square. No. Oh my goodness, you guys, you're losing all sense of mathematics. X equals 4, square both sides. X squared equals 16. Yes, okay, I still have a solution to 4, but you added an extra one. So suppose you're like, oh, square root 3 over 2, that's my answer. I don't like it. I'm just going to square it. So my answer is 3 over 4. No, your answer is the square root 3 over 2. You can't just square something unless you square both sides. And then that's like when you have an equation. Sure, yep, square 0 all you want. Have a good time. Yep. It's really fun. Then try cubing it. Okay, sorry, YouTube Nation. We're losing it here. We're losing it. Okay. We all back? We're all good? All right. So, Olivia, if you were back, what would you want to do for the next problem? Like, what's bothering you about it? What bothers you? That is even there on the board, okay? Is there a certain part of the problem that's bothering you? Pi over 8, okay. Oh my gosh. How about we do this? We'll go sine of July 22nd divided by 8. Okay, what? How about that? No! Or divided by, not divided by 8, divided by 7. Sorry. But it's over 8 here. Okay. All right, let's get back on track. This is in radians. Change it to stinking degrees. What's pi over 4? 45. So what's pi over 8? 22.5. Right. We got sine of 22.5 degrees. So we converted it from radians to degrees. Now, I showed you guys that, on Friday we learned that you could use a sum and difference formula, like, say, cosine of 45 minus 30. Well, you can't use a sum or difference formula here, can you? We're going to use a half angle formula. What angle do you divide in half to get 22.5? So this is the sine of 45 divided by 2. Cool. Well, I've got a formula for that. Sine of an angle divided by 2 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 1 minus the cosine of the angle divided by 2. So what goes in place of the angle here? 45. Sine of 22.5 is going to be positive or negative? Why? First quadrant. Very good. So I've got square root of 1 minus cosine of 45 divided by 2. Shoot, if I only knew what the cosine of 45 was. It's the root of 2 over 2. That's amazing. It's amazing. We just know that. Like, wow, we must be smart. You guys must have a really good third quarter teacher. Okay, so I got to combine these. Oh, wow. So we got the square root of 2 minus the root of 2 over what? 2 over 2 over 1. A lot of 2's in that problem, huh? Yeah. So I'm going to multiply by the reciprocal. And I get the root of 2 minus the root of 2 all over 4. Can you take the square root of the top? Nope. You take square root of the bottom. That's sweet. Very good. All the 2's cancel, and we get 1 minus the root of 1 over 1, which is 0. Yeah, and then square it. And then take it to the 5th power. And we're done. God, you guys. Jeez. Oh, enough with the voodoo math. I dare one of you guys to try to make me laugh on the test by just doing a bunch of that stuff and taking a straight up F and just saying, Mr. Gantz, I just wanted to do that, just wanted to make you laugh. I'm going to use my retake. One retake semester. Oh, okay. Morgan has a good question. She said, what happened to the plus or minus? We just got rid of that. We have to make that determination. So because it's in the first quadrant, we determine that it's positive. Okay? All right, your assignment is on the board. Folks, I'm sorry, I will have no books pages posted online. I'll have no answer keys posted online for these. You got to kind of take your own ownership there. I'm sorry. It's just, like I said, my life is too busy. I gotta make sure I use my time wisely in certain areas. So that's where I'm at.